Day, and I'm going to talk to you guys real quick about the Bluesky social media platform, which is really a social media protocol, the AT protocol. In case you haven't read about it, you can actually do that on the Bluesky website. They have the protocol information. It's open source. You can contribute. It's quite impressive, really. And compared to other social media platforms that are out there vying for market share and trying to compete with the likes of Twitter and WeChat and all these other Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and everything else, Facebook, Bluesky, and open source ones like Mastodon as well, and other ones. Bluesky was co-founded by apparently one of the tech leads or one of the people who created Twitter way back in the day. And like I told you in my recent video about Bluesky, the platform itself, right, has a very similar interface to Twitter, and the onboarding is fairly similar, although you do have to pick whether you want to use the default Bluesky servers, or if you have your own server or you work at a company that has its own server, to use that as the server. That's because it's decentralized, so you can actually run your own servers just like you can on Mastodon and other open source social media apps. Now, why is Bluesky an interesting social media app? Well, apart from the fact that they've just hit 20 million users yesterday, which seems like a lot, but it's really not when you compare it to like even Twitter, which has apparently over 600 million active users now, or TikTok, which has over 1 billion, and YouTube, which has a couple billion, and Facebook, which also has a couple billion. The fact is, Bluesky is in a land grab situation where they are able right now to seize on certain opportunities to continue some pretty phenomenal growth. Right now, they apparently have about 20 employees, like full-time employees. So that's about one employee per million users, which is quite a lot. And they are, in fact, looking for some people to work there, notably somebody on the engineering side and somebody on the community marketing manager side. What makes this particular app, I think, noteworthy at the moment is that not only are they growing at a pretty nice tick, pretty nice pace, at 1 million users a day. Right now, it's, until they got to yesterday, until they got to 20 million, the million a day that they've been putting on for the past 10 days or so was, far more than 5% a day. It was between 5 and 10% a day of users that they were growing, which is pretty significant. Obviously, that's going to decrease percentage-wise if the million remains the number. But if they suddenly have a big surge that takes them from, let's say, 1 million a day to 3 or 5 or 10 million a day, they could see some pretty staggering growth pretty quickly. The question is, will they? Right, well, why is Bluesky growing at such a rapid rate? So that's the question. Why is Bluesky growing at such a rapid rate? And the answer is quite simple. Since the election in the United States, the presidential election that happened on November 5th of this month, a lot of people who were using X, kind of had become sick of it even before the election, because they found it to be too toxic or whatever. It didn't, I guess some people don't like to be in highly politicized echo chambers, and it's ironic maybe, or not ironic, but I guess a lot of people that felt that they liked the Twitter before Elon Musk more decided that they wanted to go over and check out Bluesky. Now, does that mean that Bluesky is non-political? No, there's plenty of political chatter on Bluesky, and yes, at the moment, it does seem to be more of the left variety, whereas on the Twitter side, it seems to be more on the right variety in terms of what is amplified. Now, there's still plenty of people on Twitter who are of the left variety, and there are certainly people who are signing up to Bluesky who are on the right variety. Interestingly enough, many of them seem to be signing up specifically to troll people who've left Twitter, and they've kind of followed them there to keep trolling them there or something. So, interesting the way that happens. But many people on the right are also just checking it out because it's another platform, and they want to get their messages out. So they join, and they post messages there earnestly, right? But there definitely is a not insignificant number of people who are clearly just following people who've left Twitter just for the purpose of, continuing to basically spam their feeds with the same kind of stuff, or to spam their replies with the same kind of stuff that they would do on X. That's very observable. You don't even need high sophisticated bots to notice that. And obviously, and similarly, you also don't need sophisticated bots to notice that at the moment on Bluesky, it is very left-leaning on this political content. But you know what? There's lots of other content on both platforms that is not political. The difference is on X, even if you don't want political content, you can't get around it, right? Like I've got, a Twitter handle for one of the websites I run. It has nothing to do at all with politics. It's literally about like food culture. And another one that's just about like, wholesome comic strips, okay? Like not political ones, just like Charlie Brown kind of stuff. Peanuts, And they both get inundated with political stuff. They're not following anything political. They don't follow anyone, right? They're not doing or commenting on anything political, but they're constantly seeing political comments. And of course, they're seeing all of the political content and opinions from the owner of the platform, Elon Musk, who apparently thinks it's okay to just spam his content to everyone, even people who don't want it, right? Even if you mute him, you still get his content, right? Like literally, I've muted Elon Musk's content, the websites that I run, the social media accounts of those websites have muted him, and they still continue to get his content, right? And so it's very clear that those algorithms are highly manipulated on X to continually feed this kind of combative, toxic, negative feedback loop to people, because it knows that if it does it enough times, people will get triggered into replying and getting angry and entering into word spats that are meaningless. Right? You're not going to change anyone's opinion with it. And all it does is it, quote unquote, keeps users engaged. So that just increases the engagement time and the usage time on the app. And that's ultimately what Twitter wants, right? They make it so that you are engaged as much as possible in order to show you as many ads as possible between the feeds that you scroll through for whatever advertisers they have left, right? And on Bluesky, that does not appear to be the case, right? Like, I've got, even on my personal account there, I don't really follow political stuff there. at all. I don't really see it, right? The only time I see anything political is if I dive into someone's profile and I notice that they posted some political stuff, or if I specifically go to the news kind of feeds, from news organizations, then sure, you're going to see political stuff because that's the bread and butter of a lot of news organizations, right? Apart from the lifestyle and stuff like that, they make their bread and butter usually, writing about the news. And so you're going to see that there. But generally speaking, and I mean really generally speaking, on Bluesky at the moment, the content seems to be better filtered. And when you actually want to see a certain kind of feed, you will. And if you don't actually actively seek it out, you don't see it. Now, you could tell me, well, with only 20 million users, it must be, cobwebs around there. It's quiet. Nobody's. What kind of content can you get with 20 million people? Let me remind you, 20 million people, that's a lot of people. Okay, yeah, it's not 600 million people, but it's still a lot of people. So if even 1% of them post something every day, just one thing, right? That's 200,000 pieces of information a day. That's a lot of information. How much information can you go through in a given day, right? And how much of it will actually even be relevant to you, right? Probably a lot of information that you see, if you were to go through 200,000 pieces of information, a lot of it, even most of it, would be not relevant to you. But there'd still probably be at least hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of content that you would find relevant in some way to your interests. And, you might like to read it, see it, watch it, listen to it, comment about it, like it, share it, follow whoever posted it, etc. So there's still plenty of content there. It's just at a very different scale at the moment. Anyway, I think it's an interesting platform. I'm not here telling people, leave Twitter, go to Bluesky. No, it's just another social media platform. Do you really need one in your life? I don't know. I would think most people who aren't specifically marketing stuff online, and most people who aren't, deeply into social media platforms, don't really care, right? They don't need another platform. They've got X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. They don't need another one. Threads. Does anybody still use Threads? I don't think so. But there you go. There's an example of like another social media platform that tried to compete with X, had a huge forced rollout on anyone that had an Instagram account. If they clicked the create threads button, they automatically got a Threads account, and they couldn't undo it, which is why I didn't make one for my personal accounts ever, because I don't like that kind of forced behavior. And I don't think anybody really uses it much these days. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but it's not exactly a very large platform, given the size and scope of its parent group, which could have certainly made a bigger emphasis to push and grow it harder and grow it much more. Now, does that mean that Threads is just going to die off? Well, we'll see. Time will tell. Does it mean that Bluesky will necessarily succeed just because it's having a nice growth spurt since about a week? Not necessarily, right? But it might. If it happens to continue growing at the pace that it has seen over the last 15 to 20 days or so, then it could have a very nice number of users by the end of the year and a year from now, right? If it keeps it up. Now, the probability of Bluesky keeping up that kind of growth spurt for a year is pretty low, unless they manage to get really good marketing done and put in place. But again, most organizations are not going to succeed at doing that for a number of reasons. One of those big reasons is marketing budget and seriousness of their marketing plan. Okay? It takes more than just having a marketing budget to succeed. You need to actually have a strategy, make sure that budget is actually available, and actually focus on rolling it out. Right? You can't just say, "Oh yeah, we have a marketing budget," and then just kind of let it wither in the wind. That's not going to work. If you do that, then your marketing strategy, as good as it might be on paper, is not going to succeed. Right? Execution requires execution. Right? It requires having all the parts in place, having the budget in place, having all the necessary tools, necessary people, building the relationships, taking the time that it takes to build all the channels up. It's not one and done, right? It's a constantly evolving, dynamic part of the business. And apart from the actual product itself, marketing arguably is the most important thing for any social media platform. More important than ad sales, right? Because no marketing, no audience. No audience, no ad sales. Or no ad sales worth a damn, right? You're better off giving away free advertising at that point, just to make sure that you actually have something worth giving away. Because if you try to give away, has no traffic, you can give away all the free ads you want, but if people are not getting any results from showing their ads, they're not going to be impressed, and they're certainly not going to buy, even when you do build an audience, because they're going to say, "Yeah, I remember trying that. It wasn't so hot. I think I'll just skip that." So I would highly recommend for Bluesky working with marketing agencies like mine and others who have experience growing social media platforms, and working with also external software developer companies like the kind that I represent. Why? Because there is a much higher percentage probability of said platforms achieving the kind of success they seek when they have those relationships in place, working with outside professionals who are not bogged down by the day-to-day internecine details of working inside of the company. Although it certainly helps to have a good bunch of really talented employees working for the company. It also helps dramatically to have employees of other companies, right? Vendors, if you will, contractors, subcontractors, and even freelancers working on building and delivering the things that the company actually wants to achieve its goals. And that could be everything from business development, software development, DevOps, right? Business intelligence, ad sales, marketing, finances, accounting, legal. Every department can benefit from working with outsiders. Literally every department. And if you say to me, no, you can't really do HR with external people, well, you clearly have never worked with very talented external HR people. And there are certainly some very talented external HR people. If you tell me, well, you can't do legal with external people, why not? There's plenty of legal freelancers. Right? If you tell me you can't do graphic design with external people, it's the same thing. Right? There, a huge percentage of the workforce, and a growing percentage of the workforce, lives and breathes in what's called the gig economy or the freelance economy. The reason for that is because the tech has enabled people to go freelance, and the very tech that enables people to go freelance also happens to demonstrate that people who are freelance and have decent jobs as freelancers, have decent gigs, decent contracts, tend to be more productive working from home or remotely, wherever they happen to be, than by working internally at those companies. It's very simple, really. Right? The people working internally at companies, if they have to go to a job and work there 8 or 9 hours a day, then yeah, that's their entire focus while they're there. And that can be great for productivity during those 8 or 9 hours. But you typically won't get their maximum productivity. It doesn't mean nobody will. Plenty of people deliver tremendous productivity by working in an office. But there are more and more people who are more and more productive working at home. Simply because more engaged in the work they're doing. They take it more seriously. They figure out the times when it's best to be the most productive. They figure out the times when it's best to take breaks. All right. They manage time more efficiently than if they have an artificial block of time that they have to be in an office X hours per day. And that means that working for a company in an office is bad. It just means that if you let people figure out the best way for them to be productive, you typically will find that people will find that productivity scale and they'll get to it much better. Just bought 40 LTC. Well, congratulations, Elijah. Well done. Let me just suggest to you that you don't ever tell anybody how much you have of any cryptocurrency. So if you bought any number of LTC or anything else, honestly, keep that information to yourself. It's just not worth it. You're posting on a public channel in a social media platform. There are people who will literally, even if you never mention how much you hold, there are people who will hunt you, hunt your wallet, to track you and to crack your wallet and to take your money. So I always recommend that you don't ever mention how much of any asset you hold. No, that's okay. I'm just saying that for your safety and the safety of who might be watching. There's just way too many bad actors in the world, man. Way too many. And it's just not worth having your stuff get lost because of that. But anyway, back to Bluesky for a second and the whole concept of decentralization. Bluesky is tremendous because, like other open media platforms, the code is in fact decentralized. What does that mean? Well, for one thing, it means that anyone can contribute to it. You don't need to be an amazing programmer, programmer at home, or you could just be a hobbyist programmer at home and program something for Bluesky and contribute to it and see for yourself, if it gets adopted, whatever, and you can contribute to the base code, the code base, right? What does that do? Well, it lets you build up a portfolio of stuff you can show the next time you apply to be a coder anywhere else. Why is that useful? Well, that's useful because when you apply for jobs as a coder, for example, they will often tell you, please show us your portfolio. And if you have a portfolio that you can show them, it's a lot more impressive than if you don't. And, right? If you just have a bunch of stuff you practiced on, but you didn't actually build any portfolio, I mean, it's nice. It could be nice, but it's not as impressive as if you actually have a portfolio of content, development content, whatever, that you can show, hey, look, my content got, my code got adopted by one of the growing dynamic social media platforms that's, got millions of users and is growing rapidly and all that. So it's a very good opportunity, frankly, if you are a good coder, to build code for open source networks. And it's pretty cool that a site like Bluesky lets you do that and lets you create content, programmatic, development code that can be implemented into their protocol. The same, by the way, the same is true for like if you're into Bitcoin, right? It's an open source protocol. It means you can create Bitcoin code that can be adopted by the core developer community. And if it's good, you might see your code implemented into Bitcoin at some point, right? It certainly has happened. That is how the code has been developed ever since Satoshi left the community, right? It's been up to the community of developers to keep it going, and that's exactly what they've done. It wasn't Satoshi who made the SegWit thing happen. You were yesterday looking up on your Grayscale, loading up on LoadTon of LTC this past few days. Yep, literally a whole bunch of Litecoin yesterday. They bought like 22. I talked about distribution and mean reversions a lot, and if you know about distribution and mean reversion, you'll see that Litecoin has been today, tomorrow, next week. Who knows? Maybe it'll go down, maybe it'll go up and mean revert to it. Likely to touch this band again. Now that we're several days since it last touched it, it's not likely to touch this band again until it touches this line. Okay? Again, here or here, right? Or later. It doesn't have to run into that line to the downside. It can, but it doesn't necessarily have to. So that's what it's been doing. It's been mean reverting to the 30 daily. It had a very nice move, more than 55% or so up from the relative low there that it had on November 4th at around $64.58. And on the 14th, it had another pump of about 9.2%. And band on the 3012. And now that it has, you can pretty much count on the fact that there is a mean reversion happening to that 3012 RMLR. Does that mean going to necessarily pull back to $78 today to complete that mean reversion? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. In fact, if you look at the entropy is starting to fall out of trends on expanding correlation that is decreasing. Good or upside, and you do have variance also contracting, and it's positive correlation, but it is sloping down. So it's not negative correlation, but it is sloping down. It's not significant positive correlation. Returns oscillator is negative. There you go. You can see there. Returns oscillator negative on negative correlation. Variance contracting on positive correlation that's also contracting. AVR, you can see there, they're all indicating to the upside. Entropy is falling out of the trend, still in a very light trend there. Arguably, I would say, to me, that's not a trending move, but it's right on the border. It's on the cusp, right? If it's not bright blue, then it's not. It's expanding correlation, but decreasing in its, in strength, if you want to call it that. Okay, or its potential. That said, the asset is above the power mean ribbon, which is right here, and that power mean ribbon is rising and expanding. So it could find buy pressure of the power mean ribbon, or it could come down to the reverse wave trend, which certainly is a possibility, right? Because that's where it does like to come down to. If it did come down to there, that would certainly be at or below where the mean reversion would be. And the Fisher transform line there is at 64.18, and it is beginning to rise since Saturday, pointing to the upside. And the fish lines are all heading to the downside, which means for now it's still looking pretty okay. But keep an eye on the lower time frames, because that's where you'll see the changes, right? Like, let's go down, just jump down to the 4 hour real quick. I was not going to talk about Litecoin. This is really a stream about Bluesky, but since you asked me, generally speaking, see the variance and everything. 15-minute here, you can see the asset is looking, look, it just mean right to the 1110 RMLR is now below it. You can see that the asset on the AVR is giving you an indication of down on the short length, down on the middle length, and down on the long length. Yeah, so all in all, looking pretty down at the moment. Random walk on entropy, rising, expanding, positive correlation that is not increasing so far, but it is, and the direction predictor is saying up. So yeah, all in all, looking okay. You got the variance there, contracting, not at a fat tail, on negative correlation. So that is going to indicate to the upside. You've got returns that are negative but sloped to the upside on positive correlation. So again, you could see some movement to the upside there, and DLPs are rising, and the pressure are negative. Yeah, well, it's not looking, it's looking actually. This is what you want to see. This is the kind of stuff you want to see when you're talking about scalps, right? Anyway, guys, this was really about Bluesky. Okay, and let me see if I can I pull up Bluesky? I'll pull up Bluesky. Hold on. Okay, just to give you an example. Okay, so for example, look, there's a Bluesky app, and they're mentioning the release going along with new users. The next thing I see here is a post from somebody. There's a connection of mine. He posts about movies and TV stuff, and and something there about Bonk crypto, something there about PSA to learn that terminal programs often support the mouse, and some kind of other computer information there. And there's a word of the day here. There's a cartoon here. There's random, I guess, typical content you see on social media. I don't actually know who these people are. I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is, but I don't follow a lot of people, right? It's telling me, I mean, I joined this particular platform with this user not long ago. It says here, like 10 posts. I liked 10 posts, but you can see here, I don't follow Bluesky. I mean, I don't follow 7 accounts on Bluesky. Okay, which means it still wants to know what I quote unquote like to show me. So it's still showing me random stuff. Okay, and some cat content. I guess cats are popular on every social media platform. Here we go. There's a post by Mark Cuban. There you go. Writing about, I don't know, or something. There's a thing here about, I don't know, viruses and Dr. Fauci. And there's a post here about an old computer running Windows XP. Another computer-related post. Something here, some random thing here about someone from Pakistan. Another thing here about an old computer terminal. I guess it must know that I have been around computers for a long time. Somebody here posting something about the ruble dollar rate. Some space content here from NASA stuff, or NASA related content that somebody posted. And you can see there's like a whole bunch of it's not heavily political. I'm not getting like 1,000 messages from very political opinions and stuff like that. Okay. And here's my profile on there. You can see it. All right. If you see that user address, you can follow me there, yashaharari.bsky.social. If you just look up my name, Yasha Harari, you'll probably find it. And you can see here I have 9 followers. I follow 5 people. So not a lot of followers. I don't follow a lot of people. I'm just exploring this platform more than anything, and just making random posts here and there, and posting things I find interesting. But yeah, Bluesky. All in all, I find it to be a very interesting platform. I definitely think it has a lot of potential for growth. It has really a tremendous protocol when you look at the ins and outs of it. If you dig into it a little bit, even if you're not a heavy coder, you can read the papers that are written in lay English, and you can understand what's going on there. Definitely recommend taking a look at it, because it seems to be, it will certainly have a growing audience, especially now that they've done away with the invite only thing. So anyone, it seems to have good content on it, all in all. I sometimes have engaged in those kind of silly, really stupid arguments. Like, why are you arguing with complete strangers you don't even know online? What is the point? You're not going to change anyone's opinion. If you want to share something insightful, share it. And whatever people say, okay, don't even comment back, right? But yeah, the whole online politics thing with social media has demonstrated it's not really, it hasn't yet been optimized for greatness, let's just say, for wonderfulness. Maybe it will. Maybe I know some people, I'm sure, like it or love it, and they feel, empowered over on other platforms, maybe even on this one. Personally, I think it has a long way to go before politics online is really, finds a happy way of operating. But that's okay. Hey, let people argue all day long if that's what makes them happy. On whatever platform they feel like arguing on, and as long as the platform allows it, okay. What matters most to me as a user is that I don't get inundated by stuff I don't really want to see, right? So if I don't want to see about politics, or if I didn't want to see about cooking, or if I didn't want to see about, I don't know, if I didn't want to see about computers and stuff, I could easily filter that out on Bluesky. Like I have computers in my feeds list, like I think it's under science or something. So I could easily just take that off of my feeds list, and then I wouldn't see it. They have like a bunch of different feeds you could. I could take off any of those feeds, and then I wouldn't see them, and I find that very useful. So anyway, just thought I'd mention it. I think Bluesky is really pretty neat and has a lot of potential, and so far it's growing pretty nicely. And I wish it a lot of success. And who knows, maybe I'll be doing more with Bluesky in the near future. We'll see. Anyway, I'll talk with you guys later. Have a good one. And